Welcome to ILTV's Israel Daily. I'm Aaron Porras, and coming up in today's newscast, Defense Minister Benny Gantz becomes Justice Minister as well as Prime Minister Netanyahu gives in to demands from legal authorities. Israel and Lebanon resume diplomatic talks with respect to our shared maritime borders. And every psych patient's worst nightmare. Hundreds of personal case files dumped in full on the side of the road in central Israel. Turmoil in the Knesset as the final days in Prime Minister Netanyahu's mandate to form a government draw to an end. Rival Blue and White Party Chair Benny Gantz appointed as Just Minister, at least for now. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu backing down against pressures from legal authorities and agreeing to make Blue and White Party leader Benny Gantz the next Justice Minister. The appointment, set to last for the duration of the still ongoing transitional government, and was approved in a video conference Wednesday. But again, this just hours ahead of a scheduled hearing on the legality of not appointing a justice minister, as well as Netanyahu's attempt to force a vote on Likud's Ophir Akunis. Both the High Court of Justice and Attorney General Avichai Mandelblit freezing Akunis' appointment and warning the premier that they viewed his actions as illegal. Netanyahu then going with Defense Minister Gantz's appointment, saying that he'll work to settle these issues with the courts, but while maintaining his disagreements with their opposition.
קודם כל אנחנו מקיימים את ההחלטה של בית המשפט. לדעתי, המינוי של שר משפטים ראוי יהיה שיתבצע על ידי ממשלה שסביר להניח, וכך אני מקווה, תקום בימים הקרובים. ולכן למנות שר משפטים קבוע ברגע זה, זה דבר שהוא מלאכותי, ודבר שהוא לא מדרך הפעולה הרגילה שהיינו רוצים לעשות.
Meanwhile, despite Netanyahu's projected confidence, his mandate to form a coalition is days from ending, and no definite answers exist. Opposition leaders Lapid, Sar, and Bennett then discussing alternate options at the same time. Yamina Party's Bennett, for one, reportedly speaking with New Hope's Gideon Sar on coordinating a right-wing stance within a government that includes or may even be led by center-left Yesh Atid's Yair Lapid. Additionally, shoring up other avenues, Bennett said to be speaking with Islamist Ram Party chief Mansour Abbas, while Yamina number 2, Ayelet Shaked, is advocating for a strictly right-wing coalition and going to United Torah Judaism and Shas Party leaders to garner support. No deals have been publicized, though, and major questions in any sort of unity or rotational government have likewise not been decided. So if and when Netanyahu's mandate does end, it's still anyone's guess who President Rivlin will appoint next. So what is the significance of Benny Gantz's becoming the Justice Minister? And will Netanyahu override the appointment with a shiny new coalition, or will another party take the reins from out of his hands? Joining me to discuss, former Labour Party Knesset member Colette Avital and Knesset member for the Religious Zionist Party, Simcha Rotman. Thank you both so much for being with us. Now, who was right in the fight for the Justice Ministry appointment? Was Netanyahu right to make appointments based on the assumption that he will form a government in the very near future? Simcha, I'll start with you.
I think that Netanyahu made a political mistake, but the problem is that we were talking about it in two different aspects. One is the political aspect, one is the legal aspect, but in fact, there is no legal aspect. The Supreme Court should not have been involved in this issue from the first place. He could not, the fact that the Supreme Court set a court date from Thursday to Sunday, and then from Sunday to Tuesday, and then from Tuesday to Wednesday. Micromanaging the government was a breach of any separation of powers you can imagine. And the fact that Netanyahu cooperated with that was his political mistake. He should have said, what you're doing is interfering in political negotiations. If you want to do it as a Supreme Court, I'm not respecting your position. I don't accept your interference, and if you want to do it by yourself. I'm not cooperating with this.
Colette,
this was the major mistake Netanyahu made.
Colette?
Yes, I think that the mistake was not only political, it was legal to begin with. Because up until now, every time that there was a problem, the prime minister managed to bend the law to his needs and to change the law. But the legal advisor of the government found out that what the act of not accepting the equal vote of blue and white and appointing against all odds his own candidate was against the law because he himself had changed the basic law to make it such that for such appointments, both sides have to agree. So the fact that the whole issue came and was sent to the High Court of Justice was also connected to the fact that the legal advisor of the government said that what the prime minister did was illegal. So we're talking here about legalities. I'm a bit astonished because I think that advocate Simcha Rothman is and knows the law. He is qualified. He is much more of a lawyer than I am, but at least I took the pains to read the law and to try to understand and to speak to legal advisors about it. So basically what the prime minister did was illegal. And I would also like to say the following thing. I think that in a government or in a country like ours, if the High Court of Justice makes a decision, it is up to the prime minister, it is up to the Knesset to respect it and not to say, you decide and I don't care. This is not what has happened in the 73 years, with the exception of once when the Speaker of the House decided to disregard a ruling of the High Court of Justice. The High Court of Justice didn't take a ruling. The High Court of Justice said, let's freeze the situation until tomorrow and let's see tomorrow. This is what the High Court of Justice did.
So Simcha, I'm going to give you a second to respond here, and if you could add maybe in the concrete, what effect Gantz's appointment as Justice Minister might have.
So just about the legalities, the basic law says that there is equal voting rights in the government. That's what the basic law says. But because part of the Gantz fraction in the government did not show up, did not vote, did not cast their vote.
It was there. It has to be parity.
Just a second. So it was. So the decision was made legally. But if we have to get into technicalities, we can talk about it for hours, because this law, and this is I'm sure Colette will agree with me. This law is a bad law. This kind of a unity government that cannot have any decisions made is a bad law. The first law that I offered to the Knesset as a Knesset member is to cancel this law because it's bad. Doesn't matter.
I agree with you.
There is, but. So this is true that this is bad law. Bad cases make bad law.
So now concretely though, what effect will Gantz's appointment now that he is the Justice Minister?
I think that are very limited until we have a new government. I hope we'll have a new right-wing government in this near future. But if we want to have a government, if we will go to election, Gantz will just continue doing exactly what he did when he was Justice Minister for 3 months, do exactly what the legal advisor told him to do every issue.
Colette?
Yes, I have a puppet, one sentence. We have a puppet government. The real rulers of the government of Israel is the Justice Ministry and the legal advisor and the Supreme Court.
All right, Colette, if you, go ahead.
I disagree with that. And I think that basically we should respect the legal advisor of the government. He has been appointed by the prime minister. He usually happens to help the prime ministers behind the scenes. We know that. And besides, I think that the effect that the Gantz appointment has and will have is that he will not allow the prime minister to take steps that might free him from the trial that he's facing. And I do not know whether Simcha agrees or doesn't agree, but I think that it is public knowledge that the prime minister has been doing everything, including bringing again and again elections so as to avoid the trial. And believe me, I do not accuse him. I do not know whether he's guilty or not until he's found guilty. But it should be his interest to stand the trial to show his innocence. And all that has been done and is still being done is to avoid the trial. So at least the presence of Mr. Gantz, and I would like to stress, I didn't vote for Mr. Gantz, but basically the fact that Mr. Gantz is there is at least going to avoid any kind of misbehavior or misconduct that would, in fact, hamper the legal process that the Prime Minister has to go through.
All right, well, I think we have a lot more on this topic that we could, of course, discuss. And when we have a little bit more, I'd love to have you both back on. Coletta Vital, Simcha Rotman, thank you both so much for being with us. Now, in big news, Israel and Lebanon announcing plans to renew talks next week over the controversial maritime border. Hannah Rifkin reporting.
On Thursday, Israel and Lebanon announcing an initiative to restart negotiation talks concerning the disputed maritime border. And U.S. President Joe Biden is set to mediate the talks, reportedly scheduled to begin Monday. Indirect talks between the two countries actually began back in October of 2020, though before quickly falling apart. The two countries failing to come to an agreement over the gold mine maritime area, which is extremely rich in oil and natural gas deposits. In any case, these talks marking a historic moment in history, as technically speaking, Israel and Lebanon remain in a state of war and have had no diplomatic relations following decades of conflict. Further, if talks are successful, the maritime border will greatly benefit both sides, leading to lucrative oil and gas deals. That said, Lebanon likely much more desperate for as much control over the area as possible, the country still experiencing its worst financial and economic crisis in its modern history.
In other news, the United States State Department officially rebuking allegations leveled against Israel by the Human Rights Watch NGO. The State Department spokesperson saying that it is not the view of this administration that Israel's actions constitute apartheid, responding to HRW's recently published 216-page report. But where the State Department falls short is in condemning all of the other lies and distortions that the report purportedly exposes. Joining me now with more is Vice President of NGO Monitor, Olga Deutsch. Thank you so much for being with us, Olga. I really wanted to get your opinion on this because there's a lot going on here. HRW claims that Israel is committing the crimes against humanity of apartheid and persecution, adding that Israel had an overarching policy to maintain the domination of Jewish Israelis over Palestinians. How do you address this?
I'm sorry, I can't rush off a smile off my face, because if it wasn't funny, it would be actually catastrophic, right? I mean, let's try to translate to plain language what this really means. Basically, this lengthy report of a so-called human rights watchdog that has been obsessed with Israel for decades says Israel does not have a right to exist as a Jewish democracy. They question the law of return. The law of return, which allows all Jews in the aftermath of the Holocaust to acquire citizenship in Israel, right? As a basis for, and I quote, demographic policies in order to Judaize the land, right? I mean, this is what this report says. And based on this, they call Israel an apartheid. It's a lengthy report full of propaganda that is only there to delegitimize Israel and to try actually to call for very specific things, sanctions and embargo against Israel and its officials and its citizens, freezing assets, and going after companies that do business with Israel, all the way, of course, to advocating for a continuation of a trial and opening a criminal case against the State of Israel in the International Criminal Court in The Hague. So it is much worse than just the claim that Israel is an apartheid.
Now, you mentioned, of course, the demonization of the law of return, but there was also some other parts of this report that are somewhat troubling. The allegation that Israel is stealing Palestinian water, that Israel allegedly seized 4.5 million dunams of land from the Palestinians, and there are many more. Does Human Rights Watch get things right in the report?
No, of course not. it is a decades-long propaganda and a campaign to portray Israel as a pariah. Now, these motives and stealing water is one of them. We have seen them over the years, and I have to say that it's only rehashing what is known to us as classic anti-Semitism. You know, if once Jews were blamed for stealing Christian children to bake matzah, right, with their blood. Today, they're rehashing this with stealing Palestinian children's organs to trade them on black markets.
Human Rights Watch has made that allegation?
Well, not Human Rights Watch, but there's a group of NGOs, of non-governmental organizations who are campaigning against Israel. And we see these motives, light motives, reappear again and over again. So it is sadly not a new motive and not a surprising one, but that doesn't make it any less dramatic.
At what point does Human Rights Watch bring in the Palestinians to this conversation? What agency is the Palestinian Authority and Palestinian governing bodies discussed?
Well, that's another thing. They issue a report seemingly on a situation in the region, right, and on the conflict, yet they do not in any way address Palestinian terror or any of the violations on the Palestinian side. It is a one-sided view of what they think is the situation here. They talk about systematic oppression of Palestinian rights here without addressing the fact that, I mean, we have a judge in the Supreme Court in Israel who is an Israeli Arab. We are in the middle of a political situation where an Arab party might decide what kind of government we will have. One cannot talk about Israel and call it an apartheid. And all the claims, they bring up international law and international conventions, the Roma Statute. It is a wrong interpretation of all these of international law, and yet I have no other word but to call it propaganda. And I hope that the State Department will not be the only one to condemn it.
All right, Olga, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, now this next story is every mental health patient's worst nightmare coming true. Private and incredibly personal patient case files belonging to a now deceased psychologist dumped in full on the streets of Ramat Gan. On Tuesday, private assessments and personal information on hundreds of patients of a deceased psychologist found in the street corner, this including full names, birth dates, ID numbers, and personal details of their issues, thrown out from a local psychology and treatment center for learning disabilities after the psychologist passed away a year and a half ago. Victims of the leak are left mortified, though, by the lack of protocols for transferring patient data in the wake of sudden deaths, transfers, or retirement. And the health ministry not really helping, lamenting that there are talks underway to develop reforms, but that for now, there are no specific protocols for such incidents. Now, we've spoken about the importance of knowing that the daily skin products we use are as clean as they are effective. So today we have with us a member of the SR Cosmetics team to break down their Gold line products, none other than beauty business expert and TV host Galia Toren. Of course, in addition to the beauty breakdown, it wouldn't be complete without ILTV's fashion liaison, Emmanuel Kadosh, as well. Emmanuel, I'll let you take it away.
All right, so before we introduce Galia and before we have her run down the rest of the products, I got the chance to try two of their amazing products from their Gold line. Take a look at this. Today I'm going to be talking to you guys and showing you two products from SR Cosmetics Gold collection. We are starting off with the Hollywood Gold Mask, and then right after that I'm going to talk to you about the Melting Gold Thread Serum that has 24 karat gold inside. We're going to start by putting the mask on, showing you guys how it dries, and then right after that, the serum.
Gold is a well-known anti-aging ingredient since the Roman period. I don't know if a lot of people know that, but the Romans would use golden leaves, 24 carats, to put on the warriors when they are wounded. That means for your skin, we put little particles of 24 karat gold, and it can heal your skin from within. You don't only get the glow that you're used to get from gold, you also get the healing properties, and your skin is better day after day.
Galia, how are you?
Wow, I'm great. Seeing you using the products
I've
made
been
my
using,
day.
thank you,
Yeah.
I've been using the products. I've been using the gold serum specifically, but I kind of wanted to touch upon the rest of the products that you guys have in this line.
Great. So we're going to focus today on 3 major professional products that actually each and every one of us, male or female, needs at home. First of all, I want to talk about the mask, because you know mask during COVID-19, but even before, they're a very big trend. And you can see on Instagram, people are wearing golden mask as like they look like Roman statues or like a pharaoh.
Right.
So, but you know that gold, we've talking a little bit about the benefits, but this mask is also nourishing, and it's an anti-aging mask, because you have to remember that the gold is not only for glow and glory, it is also for anti-aging properties and also anti-inflammatory. And
So it's not just the trend.
No,
it's not just because it looks nice on your skin.
Exactly. And you can also, of course, trend it in Instagram. It's a good advice, but you have to know that this is really professional. On top of that, for example, the serum that you have tried, inside you see the golden threads, because gold by itself is it's like noble, and the skin loves it because it calms redness and inflammation, as we said. But for our skin to be nourished by it, you need to put it in really small particles, like you see here. And I will, of course, can demonstrate. And here you can see when it goes out, it's very, very small threads.
You can actually see the flakes, and then they kind of
They
disappear.
melt.
Yeah, they melt into your skin.
melt.
When I was putting it onto mine, you really felt it. You felt like it was a cooling effect almost, and then when it dries, it's like a nice thin layer. You put on top of that some moisture and then some makeup. Aaron, I know this is very riveting information for you.
I'm really in this because, as you might know, I wear makeup every day.
That is very true.
And you know, when you wear makeup, your skin is more tired.
Right.
So you can glow up, like they say, and you can use daily the cream with the pearls and the gold and the serum underneath and the mask twice a week. And also, I have to tell you, there's also a surprise inside. Argan, you know, the argan, the botanical essence, it's called the yellow gold. It's actually kind of a nut that you make the oil. It comes from Morocco. It's very good also for your hair. So a tip.
Right, argan oil is very amazing. So I see here these 2 products right here. What is this new combination
so
here?
this is also the golden mask that you can wear. It either you can wear it, you know, at home, but also the thing that this is like a set. You can use it as couple, you know, with the serum and the cream and the mask.
Okay.
But also you have to know that this big product goes to estheticians, and here is the difference between retail and just esthetician professional.
Right, because you've been saying these are professional products.
Exactly.
So what exactly is the difference for people that don't know?
So you have to know that even though sometimes the ingredients can be the same between retail and professional products, all the formulation is different, because when you go to a professional or through a professional or even buy online professional products, you know that the formulation is really with higher percentage of the active ingredients. So you get more 24-karat gold and you get it more effective on your skin.
Wow.
So these 3 products you can either buy for home or you can use in the clinics or
like as a proper
estheticians.
esthetician.
Yeah,
right.
yeah, and you can
so
do
you
both.
know that you're getting the highest quality product that's also
Exactly.
clean, that's effective, that's healthy, and of course, most importantly, that actually works.
Yeah.
Where can we find these products for people like Aaron and I, or estheticians that are looking to have these products in their clinic?
So of course, if we're talking about the States or Canada, you can buy it online. You have the new SR Cosmetics online website, e-com, and you can just have it everywhere, either in an esthetician's clinics or in a professional places that they sell, for example, even makeup schools or estheticians and beauticians schools.
Amazing.
And here in Israel, of course, it's very famous. So when you come to Israel, just call me and I'll tell you where to buy.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for breaking everything down for us.
Thank you.
We will have you on here soon to bring us some more products, to tell us all about the rest of your lines.
I will be happy.
And yeah, thank you.
And have a golden day, of course.
Amazing.
All right, now let's take a look at the weather forecast with Chana Rifkin.
So this coming weekend, Israel's expecting clear skies again and lows this evening between 17 to 18 degrees Celsius in the north and center and 23 degrees in the southernmost region. Then Friday and Saturday, highs in the upper 20s and 30s. Shabbat Shalom.
All right, that is it for today's news. Today's exchange rate is 3.25 shekels to the American dollar and 2.64 shekels to the Canadian dollar. And finally, for the latest updates and news from ILTV, please like ILTV on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well as to our newsletter at iltv.tv. I'm Marian Porras. Well, thank you so much for watching.